5th of 2023. Appreciate your attendance here this evening. Start our meeting. An invitation, for vote and a pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Barker.
Start off with an invocation. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have tonight to gather as a city council, mayor, staff, and citizens. We're grateful for the opportunity to discuss the city's budget and how we can lead the city going forward. Please bless that we will be blessed with that spirit and will be led to make prudent, good decisions. And these things we say in Jesus Christ. Amen. Yes, me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Barker. We'll start our meeting this evening. We have a presentation regarding flood control. I think Councilmember Ekstrom, that these folks down at the League meeting in St. George, and so we've invited them. They're here in present. They're present tonight. Are they going to do it online?
I believe they're doing it online. I think it's Tammy.
Yeah, still will. And David Elgar, I think.
Okay.
So if they're with us, John, we could proceed.
Yeah, I'm going to promote David to a panelist. Okay, he's popping in.
Council, like John is getting that up and running tonight. Probably we'll start with Councilmember Severing and work our way down. Maybe roll call vote this evening.
And so David, is Tammy the other one with your group?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Is she presenting or are you, or what's the best way to get you?
She's gonna run the video. She's
Okay.
gonna run the presentation and I'll do most of the speaking.
Okay. Well, she should be jumping on and she should be able to share her screen here in a sec. Oh, I don't know if she disappeared. There she is. Okay. So Tammy, you should be able to share your screen as well.
Just a reminder to come off of mute.
There we go.
All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Tammy, you're on mute, by the way, if you want to hit your unmute button.
Got it. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
So sorry.
Okay, you guys ready for us to get started?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity. We just wanted to walk through a quick capabilities presentation of our product and tell you a little bit about what we do. My name is Dave Elvier. I'm the Vice President of U.S. Flood Control. Tammy is our territory rep out on the West Coast. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right in. Again, appreciate the time. So the name of our company is U.S. Flood Control. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one. So
It's not going. Hold on. Shoot. Okay.
So the product that we manufacture is called the Tiger Dam Flood Protection System. These are essentially reusable water-filled flood barriers. Again, we manufacture these ourselves. They come in 50-foot standard lengths. They are a nylon scrim fabric that's coated with a flexible PVC. So it's pliable, but it's also very durable. again, they come in 50-foot long sections that join together seamlessly. So you can literally make a run of 50 feet to 50 miles. They're stackable in triangular formation if you need to get extra height. The standard heights that we manufacture in a single chamber are 18-inch high, 24-inch, 30, 36, and 42. And as I mentioned, they're all stackable. So if you needed to achieve a level of, let's just say, 8 foot high, you know, we have the configuration to get to that height. So some folks just need 12 inches, 18 inches, and some folks need 10 feet. So again, they're stackable into different formations. The object of this, or one of the main reasons why this product itself was invented was because of snow melt. But the idea is that they wanted to eliminate the use of heavy equipment, you know, sandbag chains of people that move bags around. This is a very simple to use product. So it requires minimal manpower, which saves time and money. So just a little bit about our company and the product. Like I said, the gentleman who invented this product owned a business up in the Canadian Rockies, and he kept getting snow melt, and every year his business would flood. And so him and his partner created this product back in the early 2000s, manufactured shortly up in Canada for a few years, and then moved the company down to New Orleans in 2006, which is where we still manufacture today. Every Tiger Dam is stamped made in the USA. This product has been tested, aggressively tested, and we'll talk about some of the engineering firms that have put it to the test here in a minute. We do operate in other countries, but in the United States and in Canada, we sell direct to the end user, so there's no dealer markup fees or anything. Our clients buy the product from us directly, and we perform training, and we also have subcontractors that can install the product as well. This is an FM approved product. We have been through the FM and Army Corps of Engineering testing twice. Both achieved platinum certification on each of the testings that we did. You guys probably know this, but for every $1 that a business spends in flood mitigation, flood protection, reduces loss exposure by an average of $105. That came directly from a FM Global engineer. So they, you know, one of the things that their engineers preach is that no matter what you do, you should do something. You know, if you don't do anything, you have an exposure of almost everything, but they would rather save their clients 80% of their loss, or 40%, or 10%, whatever it is. But you know, saving a loss is saving a loss. So these are some of the engineering firms who have tested our product, mainly the Army Corps of Engineers. As I said, we've been through their testing twice, but we also have a patented anchoring system, which has been tested by both Intertek and Wank. Here is a copy of our 2 approval compliance certificates. The first time we did the certification with the Army Corps of Engineers was in 2013 with one of our single chambers that you saw earlier. And then we went back 2 years later and did the same testing with a stackable configuration. Both certifications, each time that we did it, we achieved the platinum certification. So we're very proud of that. We're the only company that has done the testing twice. Just to give you an idea of what that testing looks like, over on the right-hand side, you'll see the inside of the Army Corps Engineers facility. It's at their research and development campus in Vicksburg, Mississippi. So they essentially bring your product into a testing center, fill their basin up with water, and then they perform tests for several days of extensive wave activity at different levels, different heights. They do debris impact testing, riverine testing, seepage tests. So everything is measured at that facility. And at the end of the 2-week session, you get a certificate of compliance at whichever level you pass at, or you don't. There's a lot of companies that have done the testing and just can't pass. They don't publish those reports. They only publish the ones that have passed. So on the next slide, if we can get this video to play, this is what the inside of the facility looks like during the testing. Yeah, it looks like the video is a little bit choppy. Let's see if we can let it catch up here. Yeah, sorry, the video's kind of choppy. It's not playing very well.
Clear on my end. Hopefully they're seeing it clear as well.
Are you guys seeing that video okay?
Yeah.
Okay. This is another quick video. We have our partner over in Prague has their own testing facility that they did. Now, obviously, it's not monitored by the Army Corps of Engineers, but it gives you a different view of a much greater height. They did a water test of 5.5 feet on this day.
Okay, next, let's see. I think it's just playing over again.
Yeah, it's just playing over again.
I can't get it to go to the next.
Hit your right arrow.
Again?
Yep, one more time. Go to the next one. There we go. So one of the most common questions that we are asked is, so you say you build these 50-foot sections. Well, how do they join together? So we actually build our dams 54 feet long. So if we have an 18-inch dam, we add 2 feet onto each end to allow what we call a folding process. So we join 2 dams together. As you can see on the right-hand screen, so that the 2 feet overlap, and then each Tiger Dam comes with 2 sleeves, 1 for each end, and so the sleeve goes over where that the 2 dams join, and now you've got 100 feet of Tiger Dam. And so it's very similar to adding link after link after link. And they join together, and there's a quick video on how that's done. But if you notice on the, it doesn't require a lot of manpower to join those. Those joins take about 90 seconds to do. Very simple process, like you see here. So all you do is fold the dam up, move your sleeve over. All the directions are written on the dam, so it's foolproof. Your join lines and your fold lines are on there. Slide your sleeve over, and now you can start filling your dams. So these dams fill up very quickly. Your 18-inch dams, which are essentially the volume equivalent of 550 sandbags, fill up in about 4 minutes. I mentioned the stacking configuration. Here's an example of what that looks like. Depending on what heights people are needing, different parts of the country call for different height elevations. Some people, like I said, might only need a foot. Some people might need 8 or 10 feet. So here's just a couple of examples of what that looks like as they're stacked. Stacking the dams is very similar to laying them out single. Although one thing that when we stack our dams, we do tie them together at the bottom. So we have custom fitted straps that go for each size dam. The straps go underneath the bottom layer, then over the top of the first layer, and then you just add another layer on top, fill it with water, and then straps go back over. And like I said, each size dam has individual size straps to go along with them, and they're all custom sized. Very simple process. So this eye chart that you can barely see is essentially, I'll just sum it up for you. It's the 5 different size dams we have, 5 different columns at the top, and that gives you an idea of how many gallons are in each dam, how much is the weight when it's dry or when it's full, or what are the sizes of it when it's rolled up, and also how many sandbags it replaces. So I mentioned the 18-inch dam is about 500 sandbags, up to the 42-inch dam, which is 15,000 sandbags. And then at the bottom, it gives the different configurations on your height. So if someone were to come to me and say, hey, we need, a 5.5-foot structure, I just follow the matrix over to the 36-inch dam, go down, and I say, okay, we need a 2-1 configuration. So this information can be sent if anyone's interested in taking a look at it. We just kind of wanted to throw that out there to let you know that we have it. A little bit about our anchoring system. So we have different solutions for each type of ground application. So as you see, we have a couple examples here of the earth anchor, which essentially it's a patented system that our engineers developed. It's an auger anchor that goes into the ground, and then we attach a 10,000-pound aircraft cable, which then loops around the strap, the D-link on the strap itself, for our earth anchor applications. And then a concrete application is very similar to a redhead anchor. It just goes into the ground, tap it, and it expands in the concrete surface. And then again, the aircraft cable around it. We also have asphalt anchors, duckbill anchors, what have you. So all solutions for the different size anchors. And one of the other challenges in the Army Corps of Engineers testing is interfacing against the wall. So we've got the data on how to run a Tiger Dam up the wall to minimize the seepage that gets through. As you'll see a couple of real life examples. One of these is a museum. One of them is a Sam's, and then they just push up against the wall and then you fill them. And this is a little video on how that's done. You can also go over, parking bumpers. You can go down grades. And then this video shows how to achieve that interface, which is part of the testing for the FM 2510 protocol. So you simply just lay the dam up against the wall, half the height of the dam size, and once you fill the dam, it will seat itself up against using that pressure of the water up against the structure. So like I said, you can go down curbs. All you do is tuck it against the curb, and the water flowing down will adhere to or seat itself up against the curb. Okay. Just a little bit about the flexibility and the flexible nature of the dams. They can conform to just about any application. You can actually ring it around back into itself. You can make 90-degree turns, S turns. Very flexible fabric, but also very durable as well. These are some examples of some larger scale projects that we've done. The different colors that 2 of these are in New York City. One of them is at Ohio State University. The different colors, excuse me, represent different size and different heights of dams. So naturally, a big campus or, city block like you see here will have different elevations. And so the idea is that the dams can step up or step down in size. So a 36-inch dam can go into a 42-inch or into a 32-inch, 30-inch rather, and you can step them up and step them down. So, but we've done some really large projects for, schools, hospitals, different things like that. Let's see, this is a little video from New York City. So the New York City Office of Emergency Management uses our dams. I don't know if this is going to play.
Here we go.
So they do their pre-tests, their dry runs every year, just so that their subcontractors know how to set them up and know how to take them down very quickly in case they get a storm pop up their way.
And hit next.
Yep, we do a lot of work with utilities and substations, Duke Energy, FP&L in Florida, Entergy throughout Texas and Louisiana. We've got utility subcontractors that also install product for us. So, keeping the power on for hundreds of thousands of people during storms. You can go to the next one. Here's a video from Hurricane Florence that was, now this is a couple of years back. They took some drone footage of some of their substations that they were protecting.
Let's see if it plays. It says unavailable. It may not play.
Okay. Here's some other government facilities that we protect. Do a lot of work with municipal buildings and state prisons. That's office in Miami. They're in the top left, and Tampa on the right. So a lot of government work. We have state contracts with several states for DOT, and we also hold emergency contracts for flood mitigation in a few states as well. A lot of shoreline protection. Couple of these pictures are from the BP oil spill, which is going back a few years, but we did several miles this past year in Florida after the 2 storms that they had. They lost miles and miles of their seawall. So one of the interesting things about that picture in the bottom, in the middle, that was during the BP oil spill that summer. We had 4 tropical storms that hit South Louisiana, and there was no damage whatsoever. I mean, they were obviously overtopped because there were 7-foot seas that these things took, but there was no damage anywhere in the 13 miles of that stretch. So these things took a battering and just stayed up the entire time.
Oh,
Now there's a little video. Okay. There's some of the work in those shorelines in Florida. There were some pictures there. I don't know if any of those are videos. But are you on the Keeping Roads Open?
yes.
Okay. Go back to that. Go back one if you can. Yeah, none of those are videos, but that's in Daytona Beach. They did a couple of miles of shoreline protection just at the end of last year. They just took them down a couple of weeks ago. Actually, they stayed up throughout the high tide season. They had to take them down because of the sea turtles. But a lot of work with departments of transportation around the country. The nature of this product allows it to be installed and go long runs, and so they use that along I-10, different highways to keep roads open and accessible. And recently we've started working with the folks out in the Northwest states and also Southeast states for king tides, because these dams fill up so quickly. They generally have a couple of days advance notice of when there's going to be king tides, and so they just keep them on the backs of their public utilities trucks and they roll them out and they fill them up. Sometimes with even the flood water, if they don't make it there in time, but very easy to use. You can fill from the flood water directly if you need to. Again, just topping levees. If someone needs, an extra, foot or two of freeboard. A lot of states use these. I know that picture in downtown Baton Rouge, when the Mississippi River gets high, they always add a couple of extra feet there. And then, as I mentioned, some other entities use it just for extra freeboard. And then we also have a line of hazardous materials. We call them our chemical tubes. The coating is a little bit different. It's resilient to more chemicals than the regular Tiger dams. The regular dams are going to be resilient to water and oil, things you'd find in regular flood waters. But we do have a line of chem tubes that are resilient. We've got a list of 100 different chemicals that they will either contain or enclose. So that's another option that sometimes people take also. We work a lot with retail. Walmart is one of our biggest clients. Different grocery store chains around the country. We do work with Lowe's and Home Depot. They tend to store our product regionally in case they have a need in the next state over. Like I said, they will, and some of them will even share with other regions when they need to. There's a little trailer there that a grocery store has. We'll talk a little bit about trailers in a minute. Office towers and condominiums. We've got office towers, like a property management group in, let's say, a city will own 3 or 4 buildings, and he will buy flood protection for each individual building. So it's specifically tailored to that building itself. They're very easy to store. We've got some pictures of storage we'll show you, but these roll up really tightly and store really well. So people in New York City or in Boston, they don't, they pay a lot for storage space, and so they need something that's very compact. So these are the all-inclusive trailers we have. So each Tiger Dam trailer, we customize it to our clients' logos or their wraps on the outside. Each trailer has 3,000 linear feet of Tiger Dams, plus all of the accessories that you would need to fight a flood offsite. So it's got everything from generators and pumps to flashlights and rain suits. Everything that any of our subcontractors have ever needed, we pack in these trailers. So very popular option. People like to see their own logo, their own trailers, and it's all contained. So they just lock it. So when there's a flood event, they can just hook to it and go out to the site. So always an option as well. We do a lot of work with Homeland Security. We're a corporate partner with the Army. So we train the National Guard in several states, free of charge, so that when there's a flood event, whether it's a hurricane or a flash flood or what have you, the National Guard, we get out to a site and the National Guard is already trained because we've been training them for years. So it's always great to work with these guys and girls. So very proud of that. So the fact that our dams are environmentally responsible, it's something that we're proud of. Also, sandbags are very cumbersome. They're very messy. A lot of times, when they get water that hits them, they'll either disintegrate or they'll be washed away, and so it leaves behind a big mess. Whereas our product everything that we bring with us to a site, we take back. So we don't leave any footprint behind. This is a product that it's reusable over and over again. We've got clients that have had our dams for 15 years, and they've never brought a Tiger Dam back to us and say this doesn't work anymore. So you will get a lifetime out of this product, but very much better for the environment than sandbagging, of course. And then we talked a little bit about storage. I know this is a lot of information on here, but we did a cost comparison to a 1 mile wall of sandbags 4 feet high versus a wall of Tiger Dams that's 1 mile, and you can see the cost per sandbag, and this is coming from the Army Corps of Engineers website. They value it at $7.65 from its cradle to grave, basically. But you're talking $12 million for under $500,000 in Tiger Dams. Plus, think about the shipping cost and what that would look like. We can fit all that essentially on the back of one truck, maybe into 2, whereas you'd see what sandbags would look like at 50 on a pallet. There's just no comparison. Plus the time it would take to deploy. So in terms of storage, so what you're looking at on the right, you see those crates that are stackable. You can fit 1,000 linear feet of our 18-inch and 24-inch dams in one of those crates, and they're stackable up to 3 high. So you're talking 3,000 linear feet, which is more than a half a mile of flood protection in one pallet space. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. That's 9,000 linear feet of flood protection right there, just in that one photograph. So stores well, stacks well. They all have fork pockets, so you can pick them up and move them around. Literally as simple as taking one of the 50-foot rolls out, drop it on the ground, roll it out, and start filling. And now in less than 5 minutes, you've got the equivalent of 500 sandbags. There you go. That's one of our clients that sent us their storage shelving units. Those are 36-inch dams of, I believe they had 400 linear feet in that one location, but all of their pumps and straps and anchors and everything is right there on those shelving units. So they all roll up to 14 inches high, so very compact. So just some things to consider when looking at flood protection versus sandbags. The cost of your Tiger Dams, you saw the 1 mile of just $12 million versus 500,000, or not doing anything and having to repair from flood damage or business interruption, things like that. Cost of a one-time purchase, which is Tiger Dams, versus buying sandbags over and over again. Your cost of deployment. So what is that going to cost to have, hundreds of people fill in sandbags, or just a few people to roll out Tiger Dams and fill them up? Just looked at storage. A single 24-inch Tiger Dam is the equivalent of 1,500 sandbags, and you can have that volume equivalent in less than 10 minutes. The fact that the Tiger Dams are reusable, we're estimating that you can get 15 to 20 years out of a Tiger Dam. We actually just turned 18 years old, our company. So we're probably going to up that a little bit, since we know that some of them are still working and still out there. You can share the same system regionally. We've got some counties that share them. And then a lot of people can get some type of insurance premium discount, or through grant money they can purchase them. But those are just some of the things to think about. So just to kind of sum up, we talk about Tiger Dams being the sandbag replacement company. Sandbags have been around since the 1700s. This is just newer technology. It's less than 20 years old, but it's now just starting to take a foot out of, we're born and raised in the Gulf Coast states, but we're spreading out into the Northeast and out west now. So, but people use tiger dams to keep roads open, keep power on, protect their buildings, and their contents of building. You know, we've had so many clients come back to and say, hey, look, this product helped keep the lights on for, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, or it kept roads open so people could pass during a storm. And it's just better for the environment than sandbagging. It's going to save money and time. There's no question about that when doing cost comparisons, and it gives you peace of mind. And there's a video. I don't know if you can, if there should be audio on there, but this is one of our clients sent this a couple of years ago. You can go ahead and play that. I don't know if your audio is on. This is a client that they bought tiger dams to protect their golf course. They had flooded the year before and had about $300,000 worth of damage to the course. The course was closed for several months. So they bought tiger dams, used it the next year. And the fellow sent me this email with the video, you know, showing how well it worked, and said, I think their initial investment was $144,000, and he said they saved another 300. So overall, it's just a better investment. So in any case, that kind of wraps us up. Anybody have any questions for us?
Council, any questions? I don't see any. Maybe we could get our Councilmember Ekstrom. Did you have a comment?
Well, I was just jotting down a few. So you had talked about sending out teams to install them. Is that kind of like a first time where you train us on how to do it, then we buy them? Do you have like a leasing option where you just come out like as needed, or how does that work?
So we do the initial training, yes. We also have some clients that it's a requirement through their insurance companies that we do annual training. So that's always an option also. We have a network of subcontractors that, you know, have set our product up for, so we train them, and then they become certified trainers, and they will also do installations for us. You know, we're based out of New Orleans, which is where we manufacture. So, you know, we wouldn't come out and do the deployment for the end user, but we have subcontractors that do. And then sometimes we have our in-house folks that will come out and work with the end user during an event. So, so any of those combinations we can do. We don't do leasing, and that's really just because we're the manufacturer, and so we have a certain amount of manufacturing space. We don't have a lot of storage space for product. Plus, we've learned that it's harder to get a product out to a site in an emergency, because a lot of times you're going against like contraflow, and then it takes time to ship it out there. So what we always recommend is to have it on hand, or have it close to on hand, so that when you do need it in a day or 2 days, you have access to it pretty much immediately. And we can always fly someone out, but getting there from New Orleans is a couple of days minimum, right?
Okay, thank you. And then availability and lead time, like how quickly can we get them?
Yeah, so we have a queue. We normally have plenty of stock available in each size of the 5 that I mentioned. We had a huge run at the end of last year in Florida. They bought pretty much everything we had. And of course, we've been working 2 shifts since then. So we're starting to build back up our inventory. So I have some of everything, but I usually keep 20 miles of product in stock. I'm at about 3 right now because we're rebuilding. But the chance that we've never missed a delivery. And if someone were to call and say, hey, I need, 5,000 linear feet, or I need 3 miles in 2 weeks, I can get that. Chances are I probably already have it. If not, I can certainly beef up our manufacturing and get it. So essentially, it's as fast as a truck can pick it up from me and get it to the client. So we've never had an issue with not making a deadline.
Okay, awesome. Then the other thing that I'm thinking about, we don't know where or how much we're going to need. We're just looking at snowpack and not really knowing where the water is going to flow to. So is that kind of up to the client kind of to get their, to get us with engineers to determine where that water is going to go and where they deploy? I'm just, trying to figure out the matchup of what we need with what you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we would probably leave it up to the local folks to recommend how much. I mean, in our industry, it's better to have a little more than you need than a little less, but maybe we could take a look at where the vulnerable spots are and come up. I mean, we can do a lot of things through Google Earth and figure out distances and things like that. But we probably want to work with somebody locally. I'm from New Orleans. I don't have a mountain anywhere close to me, so a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But I'd be happy to work with somebody and based on our experience, where we've installed before, take a look at what might be needed.
Okay, that sounds great. The other thing I was going to ask is just if you filled the Tiger dams with flood water, do you have a clean out kind of procedure so that they don't just get really yucky on the inside, that grow mold or whatever else that you're going to
We do. We have a cleaning protocol that's on our website. We do recommend that if you're filling from flood water, that it's a little flush out process with some bleach and water, just to kind of kill whatever's in there. But the good thing is the dams don't have to be completely dry in the takedown process when you roll them back up. It's sort of a plastic smell that they have, but that's going to be the worst of it. There's as long as you kill most of the bacteria that's in there, which we do this all the time. I mean, probably 25% of the installs that we do, we're actually using flood water. So we're used to that, and we've got a neat process to decontaminate.
Okay, awesome. I think that's all of my questions. Thank you.
Great. Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions, council? All right, we see none. We'll have our city manager or assistant city manager follow up with you. And see what we
Sounds good. Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to present. Good to see you again, Charlotte.
You too. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much. We appreciate it. You have a
Thank
great night.
you. Bye-bye.
All right, council will now proceed with our meeting. Based on our agenda this evening, does anyone have a conflict of interest or perceived conflict they'd like to discuss or disclose this evening? I see none, so we'll go ahead, Councilmember Simmons.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself from the discussion on 5A.
Thank you. Move on to item number 3. This is a action to consider approving the March 14th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to that before we seek a motion? I don't see any, so I would seek a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Ekstrom. Do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilmember Sever. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the March 14th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Move on now to item number 4. We'll have the famous Dylan Hill, our Public Works Inspector, discuss final approval and acceptance of the Nature's Mini Farm subdivision.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me come here and present. Nature's Mini Farm is a subdivision from 2021. It's just 2 lots that were added at the end of 100 West. small amount of sewer pipe, extending the water line. There's 2 ADA ramps that are up to city code and the ADA standards, and 1 street light. Last April, conditional status was given. They've got all their improvements done. As the recommendation of our city engineer, Eric, to give them final status as everything is complete now.
Thank you, Dylan. Do you have any questions for Dylan at this point in time? All right, he's recommending a final approval and acceptance of the Majors Mini Farm subdivision. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember Swanson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Ekstrom. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the final subdivision, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Dylan, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll move on to item number 5 now. This is a discussion that will be led by our city recorder, Susan Nance. This is basically, I think, some cleanup, action to consider amending some ordinances requested by the Lieutenant Governor. So Susan?
Just as you stated, Mayor, basically, I turned these in to get the certification on the annexations, and they've decided that they want me to indicate which code it falls under state code. And so it's just been highlighted on each ordinance, so you can see what I've added. You've already approved both annexations. It's just kind of a cleanup item so we can finalize it.
I believe you can see that the ordinance clarifications are up on the screen. Are there any questions for Susan? All right, I would look then for a motion to amend ordinance 2023-05 and 2023-06, and the language clarifying the code as requested by the Lieutenant Governor's office. We have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. Do we have a second to his motion?
I'll second.
Thanks, Councilmember Barker. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I see none. This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Severing is asked to abstain. So we'll start with you, Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalpez.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to item number 6. In our active agenda, seeking public comments. Those who would like to comment, please step up to the podium here. State your name if you're a resident of North Ogden, and please limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. And John, if you would watch online, see if we have any comments. Anyone here would like to comment this evening? John, do you have anyone online?
No raised hands.
All right, I see none here. We have no raised hands. We'll move on to item number 7. This is a discussion by our Cherry Days Committee members. This is to consider a budget related to Cherry Days. Who will be making that presentation this evening?
Melanie.
Okay, Melanie, if you'd like to step up here and.
May I give you a handout?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, I only have a few of those sponsor guides that. Sure.
Thanks.
All right, well, we're getting really excited about Cherry Days. We have an amazing committee that's been working really hard on this event. I haven't actually counted exactly the number of events, but it's probably around 20 or 25. And there's a lot of there's some new events that we've added. just to highlight, if you're looking at the sponsor guide on the very back page, you'll just see there's a few pictures. Some of the new events that we're doing, that specifically where there's pictures on the back are, there's a fish grab, a foam party, a larger carnival, not a big still carnival, but a bigger carnival than I know they've had just in the last few years. I understand you guys have had bigger carnivals years back, but so we're going to expand that. We're going to do a really fun, big family luau, as well as pickleball tournament, chalk art, a big boutique in the park. We're going to do fitness in the park every single morning. And did I mention the ping pong ball drop? We're excited about that. Helicopter will be dropping thousands of ping pong balls into a crowd of lots of kids, and each ball will have a logo on it from companies or individuals that want to be a sponsor and we're going to help drive business to the individual businesses that sponsor. So it'll be really fun. Maybe it's a little cinnamon roll from the Sugar Shack, or maybe it's a mini cone from hopefully Nielsen's Custards or something like that along those lines. So we're really excited about the things that we have planned. If you look on the Cherry Days, the event, the spreadsheet for the budget, which is why we're here to talk to you. We've lined out, basically, these are estimates on what we feel like these events will cost from past experience from Cherry Days, some of the events that you guys have done in the past. And then I personally ran Alpine Days for 6 years, starting in 2014. So I personally have a lot of experience with what we had in Alpine show up, 11,000 residents. You guys, I think, are what, at 22,000 roughly. And so I feel like this is going to be even better. So if you look at the budget, the carnival is a little pricey. It's going to be, it will pay for itself. So I'm not too worried about the carnival. We'll charge we'll have a wristband. We really, part of the sponsor money that we are drumming up, the goal is to raise a lot of money using sponsors so that we can keep all of the costs lower so everybody gets to participate. That's, for me personally, that's my focus and number one goal. Is I know our committee as well, but I don't want to speak for the committee, but I know for me, making sure that with the wide range of the, median household income, I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation in that. And so we want to make sure everybody gets to participate in all of the events. And so keeping the prices down is priority. With all of our events. So there's a carnival, and I don't know, do you want me to go line by line, or do you want to just glance over it and ask me some questions? We have the estimated cost at $96,950, give or take, on those, as we're still quite a ways out. We still are looking at some final details on numbers. If you look on the second page, we have the estimated the revenue that we'll bring in, and I feel like we've estimated low on these numbers. So I feel like that's actually pretty low number. And you can look down the list. For instance, the pickleball tournament is a brand new event. It will definitely bring in more than 20 participants. So if I had to guess, it will be definitely more near around 100 or more. The foam party, I put 800 people here, but the foam party that I did in the past, we had probably at least 1,200 people there. And yes, we're only charging $2 to get in, but every dollar helps towards the budget and also doesn't break the bank for families with, more than a few kids. So you can look down those costs. We have the estimated revenue at $62,650. I believe that will be much higher. But just to be on the safe side. The only item that I did, that is not on the income sheet, it's the ping pong ball drop. So we'll probably make at least $1,000 or $1,500 off that is my guess. We're only going to charge $1 for people to participate in that. And I estimate that will be a really, really well attended. Moving on, one other thing I do want to highlight here is that we do have quite a few events that don't bring in any revenue. So to note, those things would be the entertainment for the family, the luau, the entertainment portion. People can come, they don't have to buy a dinner, they can still come and participate. The concert that's in the park all day, that's another non-revenue item. Fitness in the park, the big ones. Oh, the fireworks, of course. How did I forget fireworks? So, but we do have an amazing firework pyrotechnic, and so based on your budget I've seen in the past, we have a bid that's come in at half of the price. So, and the show is incredible. So, no worries. The show is amazing. So I'm trying to think of other of the non-revenue items that we have, but those are the big ones: concert, luau, entertainment, fireworks, and then, of course, things like porta potties, safety, the things we have to do for safety reasons, like barricades, things like that, are all factored in here. So, which brings us to why we're here today, to talk to you. And on the next page, actually, you can see we've already brought in $11,400 in sponsorships. Honestly, we barely scratched the surface because there's 7 people on our committee and they're all pretty busy individuals. And so, but we're hitting it hard, and I know we're going to bring in a lot more money than the 11,400 we have so far in sponsorships. And so we are shooting for between 25,000 and 40 that we bring in sponsorships. The sponsor guide that I handed that you have you can look through that and you can see what the sponsors get for their money. But we have a variety of sponsorships ranging from the $200 sponsorship that's not currently in that because that's to participate in the ping pong ball drop. So that's a little bit separate, but everything else in the guide you can see from $1,500 up to $7,500. I made that a while ago. I'm already thinking. What? 95. Okay, for like the platinum sponsorship, which is really fun because we actually, for that platinum sponsorship for the 9,500, and also for the one step down, we have a skydiver that is going to jump into the probably the parade route with a banner of whoever the title sponsor is with a flag. And we actually have up to 2 to 3 of those flags that can be one of the sponsors on. So we have some really fun things for our sponsors. We can chat about that if you have any questions later. So moving on, you can see we've got some incredible North Ogden citizens who've already stepped up, and this money that you see that we've actually collected the $11,400 that's already collected. Lot more, committed, but it's not in the bank, and so we're not going to count it. I know in years that that is always a really hard thing to do, is collecting sponsor money, especially once the event's over. So we're really committed to doing it all beforehand. So on page 4, you'll find the budget. We are here today to ask the city to contribute $75,000. We will raise 25 to 40,000 in sponsorship money. And just very rough income that we'll bring in on the events is 62,000. And then the event cost, like I said before, was 96, almost 97,000. So we were, the total, I feel we will break even is the goal, or maybe we're even gonna have some money left over is our hope to roll over into next year's fund for charity days. But we are asking for 75,000 and are committed to raising additional funds through sponsorships to for this event. Okay, and if any questions, I would love to answer.
Council? Before I ask Councilmember Swanson, who is our financial liaison, to comment, any questions? Councilmember Dalpence, please.
Great presentation, a lot of good information that we have here in front of us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks like the sponsorships are projected at 40,000 on your budget sheet, and that's towards the higher end. So just wanted to note that. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a little bit of work, but if you can get there, that would be most helpful. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Challenge accepted.
Councilmember Exton, did you have a comment?
I did have a question. So tell me about the carnival. Is that just gonna be set up at North Ogden Park and kind of,
Yes.
it gets lined up?
Yeah,
how is that?
so on the back of the sponsor guide, the colored picture, there's a little picture on there. It's, I don't know, it's a grass and it just shows some blow ups, and it's that picture that's on there probably only shows like 7 blow ups, but the carnival that we have bid out right now has 28 blow ups or inflatables or some type of ride like swings or a train and we will also, so those will be the wristband items. The other thing that we're doing as part of, we're gonna have a boutique in the park where people will register to have their products there. In the past, I know with lots of cities, a lot of times businesses want to participate and usually they are handing out some type of like marketing stuff. We're encouraging each of those people to actually do an actual event or game, and those will be free. And so that will also add to the experience in the park. Because we will have quite a few people. And when we talk to the people that are participating, we're helping them think of some creative ideas also that they can add as more of an event and less just marketing materials. So, but the carnival there will be a zip line, swings, water slides, you name it. I mean, obstacle courses, the inflatable, the bull that you get on. I mean, there's a variety of things. I think right now there's 28 items on our bid that we have outsourced right now.
Okay, so you figure there are enough things to do so that kids aren't just waiting in line.
Okay. Yeah. There's, so the carnival will be Friday and Saturday all day. And so usually the flow will, come in, and I'm sure there will be a time during the day that there might be a little bit lines somewhere, but usually it's not a problem because it's usually a day that people are just enjoying running into friends and chit chatting. And so my experience in the past is it hasn't been a problem. There will be enough for everybody to do because there will be a variety. There will be a boutique that they can go and browse, as well as doing the other events. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think it'll be good.
And is the wristband good for both days?
No, we're going to do it separate days. Yeah, we'll probably, on Friday, we'll probably offer just a little bit of a discount because there's shorter hours for Friday. And then the other great thing about Friday is it gets everyone really excited about Saturday because they're not expecting this. And so once they see it, it's going to draw a lot of attention. And then to add to that, the events that are happening earlier in the week, like the foam party and the ping pong ball drop and those types of things, they're gonna add to the excitement that people aren't used to those types of events leading up to the final 2 days in the park. So I feel like it'll all just be perfect. Honestly, I mean, if there's a little bit of line, I think it'll be okay, but we could add more events if you want. But I think it'll be good. Yeah.
Okay, and then the last thing is like, where is your intended launch place for the fireworks? Have you set up that?
We have, can I address? Okay, so
Sort of.
Councilman, okay, we are so fortunate that we have on our committee, Councilmember Parker. So that has helped tremendously. So the plan is to watch the fireworks from the amphitheater. There will be a concert before the fireworks, an amazing concert, which I can't remember if I added that to the non-revenue item also. And then the fireworks will be shot off.
One of two places.
Gotcha.
Same as last year or? in the
Previous
field,
years.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you'll see them in the park.
And we're also gonna do the cannon boom, what's it called? What do you guys call
The
it?
salutes.
The salutes. In the morning at 6 a.m. on the morning of, we have that
So
scheduled, so, yeah. So,
Okay. Sounds great.
anything else? Yeah, and we hope you join us for yoga in the park.
Yeah, I told Alan, because I teach.
I know that.
Happy to-
I was gonna ask you later. So we love how much participation we're getting from so many residents. Our committee is just stacked and we've been meeting with them and it's been amazing. So thank you for offering. I'll talk to you later. Okay, any other questions?
Any other questions, council, from Melanie while she's here? If not, I'm going to call on two council members and change order here. Councilmember Barker, you are the representative from the council to this committee. Anything you'd like to add, a recommendation before we go to Councilmember Swanson from the financial standpoint?
I have
Just the council?
nothing additional to add. I think it's gonna be a fun week. It does start actually on, so Justin wanted me to mention that it does start Friday, the week before, with the flick and float. So it'll be Friday through Saturday. It'll be a fun week.
Yeah, actually,
And Saturday's the grab day, so yes.
yeah, and the pickleball tournament is actually even a few days before. Because, so yeah, it's gonna be an amazing 9 days, but really week. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Barker. Councilmember Swanson, well,
So what's your recommendation?
We'll make that all the money that we were asking for.
Giving it a positive.
Yes.
recommendation.
Absolutely.
Jotted down a couple of questions as I'm looking at the sponsors, this Allen character. You trustworthy?
Absolutely.
Had to have a little fun. Council, as we consider this, I think it's important to keep in mind that this represents an ask that is 50% greater than any amount that we've spent on charity days. Is that correct, John?
I think it's,
Do about 50,000.
so we usually do 50,000 with 20 to 25 in donations.
Right.
So it's probably double.
Okay. That being considered, so as we think about this, obviously keep that in the back of your mind. A big question is, from where do we pull the money? Right, what account? What department, where do we pull the money from? So that's something that we can. Yes, John.
They are also showing more income than we typically get. So
guess.
there would be an increase in revenues as well.
So like, we're actually only asking for a $5,000 increase from 30 to 35,000 because we're looking for additional revenue from sponsors from 20 to 40.
I think if I read this right, too, I have a question, Councilmember Swanson, if I may. it shows that there's actually, I guess for lack of a better term, a profit of $77,000.
Right.
Which I think Melanie said would kind of go into a fund for future cherry days. If the council has a concern, maybe that could be negotiated to build up over time instead of 1 year. Of course, coming out of the budget, just a thought.
As I talked with Spencer Stevens earlier today, he kind of approached this, this is kind of seed money for years going down the road, an investment now by the city. Hopefully, the goals that you've set will be obtained, and we have these ongoing funds, and within a few years, you don't have to ask the city for any money.
That's right.
Because you've built up your account and you have your own seed money, and go from there. The overarching question that I've had in my mind all day after I spoke with Spencer is, what's the value of this? Not the cost necessarily, but what's the value as we think about the brand that Mayor has so wonderfully brought to the city, the One North Ogden brand. What's the value in creating One North Ogden, a unified, more of a community feel? And I think the value is high. So I agree with Councilmember Barker that I think the value is there. I think that the return will be there. And so I would recommend that we figure out where it comes from and go from there. I'd like to hear from all of the council members though. Ryan, we've heard from you. Excuse me, Councilmember Barker. Yes, Mayor.
Maybe I could try to answer your question where the money would come from.
Sure.
Basically, it could come from two sources. Either a increase in property taxes to cover the revenue, or two, it comes out of the funds that have been budgeted to go into capital projects in the city for the future. That's the only two places I see where that would come. I don't know if Jamie's here, but I think that's the two sources that it would come from. So I think we have historically budgeted revenues over expenses of about 300,000 for future capital projects in the city. So we could reduce that down or increase the revenue side, which is basically property tax. I know in talking with Jamie before the meeting today, she's reevaluating the amount of sales tax based upon the substantial decreases we're seeing. So I think she's bringing that down about 150,000 also. So just information for you as you consider.
So more information, council, for you to consider. Councilmember 7, how you doing?
Well, you're talking to a person that's been around Cherry Days since I was old enough to remember what Cherry Days was. So I love Councilman Swanson's idea, though. We're looking kind of at future value because I remember being a very little boy running up and down between North Ogden Park and my grandma's house and loving every moment spending with my family in Cherry Days. So for me, especially with the emphasis on One North Ogden, I think it's an invaluable event that has to be a continued tradition beyond my death.
Councilmember Dalpas.
I think just the amount of detail that has been provided, I mean, line itemed out with the costs, the revenues, and I do appreciate that you mentioned, I mean, that the revenues are potentially on the lower end, hopefully. And I think that that's a part of the consideration is that we do have hopes that it'll be a little bit higher than what she's actually saying. And so the idea that it's kind of the kickoff to this for the future of North Ogden, where we hopefully have this account moving forward because of the success of it this year, and then it keeps parlaying into year over year over year. I think that sounds kind of nice. So very supportive.
Councilmember Ector.
Well, Melanie, thank you so much. And I had no idea that you ran Alpine Days too. So you've been around, you've done this before. So that's fantastic. And I think this is the first year we do something different. So I'm hoping it's the start of a tradition where people was like, this isn't how it used to be. You know what I mean? So that this is the new way that we're doing it. It's managed by residents, and it will just be fabulous. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So I'm like Councilman Severing, that this is indelibly written in my childhood memories from the time I can remember. Cherry Days is just like the big thing you look forward to. And I know, I have members of my family that come from out of state, and it's just kind of like this whole big thing. So I'm really, really pleased. I look at your projections and your estimations, and I think they're as good as you can, get out your crystal ball kind of thing. But you know how much work you're going to put in and getting the sponsorships and things like that. And yeah, I'm hoping that the community really embraces this. And so, I think the best you can get out the word early, that it's going to be not what it's been in the past, but better. That's what we hope, right? That it will really be like, well, I don't know, you kind of have the innovation factor of like, well, let's come see, and then the word spreads around. I know we have a lot. I think last year, Mayor, didn't you go around and ask and see? We saw so many people come from surrounding communities too here, that may or may not have ties to North Ogden, but it is just kind of like the home-based celebration. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be awesome.
So council, this is new information for us tonight. I personally would like to have some time to sit on this and think about it, especially considering I'd like to have some solid information on where we're going to derive the funds. Right? I think it's an important question to ask. Certainly the value is here. Certainly the benefit to the community is there. Is it worth the property tax increase? If that's what it takes to pay for it, I think that's an important question that we need to ask before we decide whether or not to pony up the money. Is it, if it's not worth a property tax increase, is it worth a reduction in our capital projects contribution? And putting off some, one or more capital projects in order to fund this initial seed money, understanding that the return would be there and that down the road. But that's the decision we need to, that's the information I think we need to mull over. I'd like to get together with John and Jamie and Mayor and talk about sources and get that ironed out, come back to council in 2 weeks at our next meeting. Is that our next meeting, John, in 2 weeks?
Well, we have our budget work session next week, so we could talk about it then.
If we could have those numbers by next week, Mayor?
I think that's prudent. I know Jamie's trying to finalize the budget. That'll be the information to see where we're at. I do have just a couple questions. John, I'm assuming the city will be signing the contracts for all these events.
Yeah, I was going to mention for the carnival, we would need to have the council do a specific agreement with that vendor because it hasn't gone through the formal notice process that the state requires, or not the state that we require. And it's over our $25,000 spending limit that we can do the phone bids on. But the council can sign a contract that's in the best interest of the city. We just need to formalize it that way. That's all. But everything else would be okay.
And this is a city event, right, John? So our insurance covers these type of activities with potential injuries, et cetera.
Yeah, and we'll get with Melanie in the group and get some clarification just so that our insurance company has all the, we've talked with him a lot about a few other things. And so this will just be another question for him.
So Councilmember Swanson, do I understand you'd like to postpone item number 7 until our work session next week?
Until our work session next week. I know you'd like an answer tonight, but we have some big questions that we have to answer before I think it's
we can rightfully give you an answer as to whether or not we can fund this.
So is that a motion, Council?
That's a motion, yes.
Thank you for that motion. We have a second to Councilmember Swanson's motion.
I second that.
Second by Councilmember Severing. Is there any further discussion?
Amendment to one thing.
Yeah, can I call on Councilmember Ekstrom since you had her hand up first?
So what, I guess I mean, it really is a float, right? It's like we're floating them the money and essentially getting it back at the end of, so how long are we talking about? When are you gonna need to start?
So we actually, there are some vendors that we probably should have already secured by now, but because of certain relationships that we have with them, they're holding our spot for us and not already being booked out. I'm very confident we are not going to need all the money. And my hope is that one day the slush fund maybe is big enough to contribute to a really amazing park. But a new, maybe future developments that can house more events for the city. I really do feel that way. I feel like I'm not too worried about the money. I just know that there are sometimes things that can happen, sometimes there's a natural disasters or whatever, and then people don't show up, but it has never happened. I'm just, so we are on a little bit of a time crunch, so I think a week is fine. And I'm very confident that this is gonna be great.
Yeah, so you're essentially saying you need to start drawing from the fund as early as.
We will
couple
need
of
to,
weeks.
yeah, we will need to put deposits on the carnival and a few things right away. Right now, they're waiting for me, but because of our relationships, they know we're good for it.
And then the intent is to have it all by the end of the celebration. So starting, kind of,
Yeah.
have the money back to us by,
Well, the money will start
July kind of
rolling
thing.
in. Here's one thing I didn't mention. We have a website up right now. You can go and you can check it out. It is northogdencherrydays.com, for sure. And all the events we don't have all the events on there yet, but people will be purchasing their tickets on there, starting right away. The boutique vendors will start paying the fee. So we will start having revenue coming in, probably I'd say in about 2 weeks, when we start really pushing and marketing. We already have, I failed to mention this, we already have about 37 vendors that want to participate just in the boutique alone. And it's about $75 to $100 to participate. So we already have the money that's just, they're waiting for us to be able to process it. So the money will flow in and flow out for the next 2.5 months. And so.
And your strategy is to just do a fee-based entrance as opposed to like percentage of sales from any of the boutiques kind of thing.
Oh, no, boutiques they'll pay for their spot. They keep the money. Yeah. And same with food vendors. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've done both, so that's what I was.
Yeah. We don't want to try to collect money from them later. So,
There you go.
yeah. So, and the goal is to keep it all reasonably priced. So.
Councilmember Barker, do you still have a comment?
Yep, I was just gonna remember this year, we're only asking for a $5,000 increase from the city, 30 to 35,000, and we're gonna raise an extra 20,000. The city budget was 20,000, we're projecting 40. So I'll admit, I've slacked off and I haven't done my part, but by next week I'll have done more.
So Member Barker, I'm confused, because I think they're asking for $75,000 with no
That's on
return.
top of the 40?
Yeah, so we are asking for 75,000 from the city.
Okay.
We are going to bring in 25 to 40 in sponsors. The past years, I believe, the city committed 25 and they were supposed to raise 25,000 in sponsorship money, but last year, I do believe they had more committed, but the revenue that they brought in was 9,000 is all they received in sponsorship money last year. So,
I see where Councilmember Barker is coming from, but I believe the excess money is going to be kept as seed money for future. So the city's commitment, I think they're asking for is 75,000. I don't think we have much risk over that, even though we're signing the contracts because of potential fundraising. So I think our limit probably is 75, although legally we may obligate ourselves for more. So, okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there any other questions or discussion? We have a motion to postpone this till our next meeting, which is scheduled for next Tuesday. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
I,
Are there any opposed? All right, we'll be back on the track next.
And I'll get together with you, Mayor, Jamie and John.
Perfect. I
We'll
think
get
that's
this all
wise.
figured out, and I'll get information out to council so that they can
That's
be
wise.
all in this over before.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we will now hear from our prestigious city manager and attorney, Mr. John Call. He has an item he'd like to discuss with us. He'd like us to consider amending the subdivision development agreement for North Oak Cove Phase 17 for around 3550 North and Mountain Road. So, Mr. Call.
Thank you, Mayor. So the developer up there at North Oaks Cove has proposed some language for their development. So I'm going to pull up a map so that everyone gets a good visualization of what we're talking about here. Oh. So North Oaks Cove is this subdivision that's this cul-de-sac right here. And part of the requirements in our code is that we have block length standards so that Mountain Road, which is here, and then we'll come down and connect into 1050. Well, connect just above 1050 in reality, but there's supposed to be connections into the neighborhoods as it comes along here. And there's a question about whether, from an engineering perspective, this road, which is 3550, can connect to Mountain Road. And so what the developer has requested is that if that connection is not feasible, that the city return the property that was dedicated for the road back to them, as well as any escrow money to put that road in. In my staff report, I have proposed a different solution, which is that we would, instead of in putting a road in, we would put a pedestrian trail, so a sidewalk or something, so that people could still walk up to Mountain Road. That is one of the considerations in our existing land use code, that if there's a long block and you can't make a connection with a road because of topographical concerns, that you would still make a pedestrian connection. And so the idea, the language I proposed is, instead of giving it all back and the land, that we would keep enough for the sidewalk and the cost to put the sidewalk in. I didn't end up hearing back from the developer on whether or not that was acceptable. We are not required to do this agreement, but that being said, under state rule, if you take property through a taking or another type of a exaction, which is, you could consider this to be that, and you don't use it for the intended purpose, then usually you're required to give it back to the owner. So the idea of giving the property back to the owner is not offensive from my perspective. But I do think that this is going to be a vital pedestrian connection, because at this point, the distance from here to here is right at the limit of our block length standard, which is about 1,300 feet. And so we really need some way for folks in this area to be able to get east, if they're walking, biking, anything like that. We do prefer the car connection, but if that's not feasible, so staff is recommending that if we do an amendment to the agreement, that we scale it back and say that we'll still require the pedestrian connection, even if the road connection isn't viable. So although we do have some indications that the road connection may be viable. So we're just covering all our bases. Yep. And so I think that the actual language that I've put on here is that says if it's not feasible, that we'd construct a pedestrian access with the escrow for funds, and then return any unneeded property and funds back to the developer.
Thank you, Mr. Call. I think we have Mr. Thomas with us this evening. Would you like to
Oh.
speak to the council before we?
Sorry, I didn't see you there.
Sure. You step up and state your name and your address. Don't act like the mayor during planning commission.
Yeah, Mayor can remember his address. Eric Thomas, 3578 North, 950 East. So the reason that this has kind of been brought up is, as you know, Mountain Road hasn't been designed in this area over here. There is a subdivision just above there that does have some of Mountain Road designed, because they've got to get some utilities down. And my engineers designed it. Currently, right now, if we keep Mountain Road at the steady slope that it kind of is through the cove and attaching over towards top of 1050, if we keep that steady slope, that would make our road at 3550 be about 20% slope. So, and 12% is the steepest that's allowed in the city. So that's why this has kind of come up, and that's why we didn't build that little piece of road when we did the cul-de-sac, is because being Mountain Road isn't designed yet. We don't know at what elevation. We have no problem dedicating the property for a road. That's why it's on the plat. But it's just has come up that saying, well, if the road never gets built, we don't want just this vacant piece of ground sitting there that's deeded to the city. And being that it's only half, what's being dedicated now is only halfway between 3550 now and Mountain Road. The last half would be dedicated when Mountain Road gets designed, and then we need to develop that. So that's kind of why this had come up. The subdivision above, their engineers designed a section of Mountain Road to allow utilities to connect. And in doing that, just a small little piece, maybe, I can't remember the length of it, 200 or 300 feet. They made Mountain Road drop at a 12% slope and then level back out. So it would get low enough to connect to this stub. And so I've talked to Eric Casperson and John a little bit about, does this make sense for Mountain Road? We really just need to kind of sit together as the city and developers and figure out what Mountain Road needs to be. Because in my opinion, although selfishly, I think the connection for 3550 would be nice because I live right there and jump over and go down 1050 to get down and to the city. But really, with what Mountain Road is planned to be is a major arterial road through the city. And that if you imagine the steepest roads we have are 12%. And to me, it doesn't make sense that we have a section right there that's really short, that's that steep. That's, like, so the steepest parts you'd see up in the cove or different parts of the city as an example of steepness. And so there needs to be a little bit more engineering going into that to make sure, hey, yeah, that's how we want to have it. And so it's, at this point, in order to record the plat, we need to just make an adjustment on the development agreement that caveat is in there. If it doesn't work, when the ground just comes back. And I have no problem with, the amendment John made that we connect it with a sidewalk, because it probably will be a water line that connects the two, I believe, to complete the water system. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer it. Hopefully that paints the picture of the background.
Just a question on that 20% slope. Do you think we could charge people to a sleigh ride and keep fun for Cherry Days?
Well, maybe.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Thomas while he's here with us? All right, looks like he's done a good explanation. Eric, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, council, we have before us on item number 8, an approval of agreement number A05-2023. This would be a motion to approve the agreement, amending the subdivision development agreement for North Oaks Cove, Phase 17. We have a motion to approve that amendment to the agreement.
Mayor, I move that we approve agreement A05-2023, amending the subdivision development agreement for North Oaks Cove as outlined.
Phase 17.
Just that phase 17.
Oh, phase 17, thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Ekstrom. Do we have a second to that motion? Second. Thank you, Councilmember Delpaz. Is there any further discussion before I call for a roll call vote? As stated earlier, we'll start here with Councilmember Severin and work our way down. Councilmember Severin.
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalpas.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll be amending that agreement accordingly. Thank you. All right, council, we're now going to go into budget presentations, and I would just like each of us, obviously, this is very important, our fiscal responsibility in regards to the expenditure of taxpayers' funds. I would also remind you, hopefully you got a chance to watch some of the Citizen Budget Committee meetings. Our folks have gone through the budget, probably got it memorized. So, but feel free to answer any questions you may have, and we'll proceed now with Police Department. Start with Chief Quinney. You will talk about the Police Department and then Community Service Officers. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Presenting on the Police Department and the Community Services budget. Good news, I'm going to combine the two. And also, we got 11 slides. Bad news, I've been asked to take 20 minutes per slide. So.
But who asked you to do that?
Nobody left. No, not nearly that long, so. Okay. So just give you an idea who we are. This is our organizational chart. Top three spots there is our administration with myself and the two lieutenants, one investigation lieutenant and one patrol lieutenant, and each command a division in the department. Obviously, patrol investigations covers investigations as well as our community service officers and victim advocate and our dare officer. And then also is our support staff, which is our records clerks, record supervisor, and our executive assistant. In all, we have 28 employees, and we're currently fully staffed and have been for a year now, which this day and age is not very common. So we're fortunate we have a great staff. So, okay. Our deliverables and goals is pretty simple. It's basically service and safety and security. The service side, our goal is to keep response times low. That's both for our sworn officers and our CSOs. Timely and thorough investigations, make time for public relation activities and events. This helps support our relationships with our community, which is vital to us for our success. And then also keep the ability to provide non-criminal services to the community, which includes our vacation checks, our lockout services, and numerous, other non-law enforcement related activities that we respond to. Safety and security, keep proactive policing our priority. I'm a true believer that proactive versus reactive is the way to keep the community safe. We stop crimes from happening before they happen, rather than respond to them after they've happened. To keep North Ogden a community that is not attracted to criminals, and that is through proactive policing. They know we're here, we're seen, and they can see that we're taking those proactive initiatives. They go somewhere else. Maintain staffing levels for a growing community and the needs that come with it. I'm sorry, some of my text is a little hard to see there. Okay, next slide. Okay, our keys to success. Obviously, it's not just the staff, but it's our administrative leaders, our elected officials, and the community as well, and their support in what we do and helping us. We ask our folks to do a hard job, and they're glad to do it, but it's our job to provide them the resources to be able to do that effectively and efficiently. So we just want to throw a thank you out to our community, our city administration, and political leaders for helping us do that. Doing that by providing retention programs for compensation, recruiting incentives, the new building. They're out there working hard the last couple of days, so that's nice to see. The tools and resources necessary to do our job. Just to go through a couple of the line items in the police and community services budget that they kind of make up the bulk of our operations budget. This doesn't include personnel costs, salaries and benefits. Uniform allowance, our officers get $100 a month to keep their uniforms clean, stocked up. The equipment they use, whether it's attached to their belts or to their vests, the boots they wear, the hats they wear, the gloves they wear, for cold weather, warm weather, and everything in between. Just so you know, the uniform I'm wearing, just my shirt and pants, is about $160. So it's not cheap. We like to look professional and be recognizable as somebody that somebody can come to and need when they're in need. So that's what that covers. Subscriptions and memberships, our biggest item in that category is our policy manual. We contract with a company that helps us keep our policy up to date and in best practice, and also following state and federal laws that come out of both case law and legislation. That's about $9,000 a year. Money well spent too, by the way. It would probably take a full-time employee to keep up our policy up with. Our computer services, that's just basically what we need to keep our software running, our systems, our equipment maintenance, things break, we have to fix it. Our telephone, which includes both our landlines and our cell phones, and our air cards for our officers on the street, so they can have some connectivity with dispatch. And investigative costs, I'll go into some more detail on some bigger of the contributors to our budget. Next couple slides. Our Metro Task Forces, which is our CSI, SWAT, and narcotics. Department supplies, which is what we need to do our job day to day, whether it's ammunition or evidence packaging, things along those lines. Small equipment, which is replacement of tasers, computer equipment mainly. Any radios that come along that we need to replace or update, and this includes a fairly large line item, and we'll go into that in the next couple of slides as well. And then our motor pool, that's just the rotation of our vehicles that we use, both marked and unmarked, and our CSO vehicles. Just in comparison from this year's budget to the proposed budget, this year's budget is in our operation side, not including salaries and benefits, $894,245. The proposed budget for fiscal year 24, $1,095,302. It's a $201,057 difference, which is a 22.48% increase. Next slide, and we'll explain why, where that increase comes from. So $201,057 increase. We have a new license plate system that we invested in, which is a $30,000 a year expense. We have the opportunity to receive some grant money to upgrade our body cameras. We were one of the first agencies in the state to get body cameras. We're still utilizing that same body camera system, which is better. And it's time. This grant money is just a one-time opportunity. We try and get some, or we missed the boat. So this is why this is the year we decided this is we're going to go after it. So this is dependent on that grant. So to upgrade our body camera system, $43,000. That's actually a 6-year program. We would get, each officer would get a new body camera every 2 years. It includes any software updates. If the camera goes down and needs repair, we send it back. If they can't fix it, they send us a new one. So basically, we're in brand new cameras for 6 years. So there would not be a body camera expense following this for 6 years. And then obviously we'd have to come back and look at renewing the program. And again, this would be covered at 50% through grant money. Recently, the state, who runs our two-way radio system, which is the towers that are on the mountains that can get us bounced around throughout the state and communicate with our neighbors, I've upgraded that system. Motorola ran that system up, well, they still do. At the end of the year, that will change hands. So the state put that up for bid, and L3 Harris won that bid. And our Motorola radios, as they sit now, will not work with that system. A software upgrade will get us compatible. That software upgrade is going to be $50,000. These radios we carry are new radios. They're up to date. Just Motorola and L3, you know how it goes when you have competitors just aren't going to talk. So second option would be to trash these and buy L3 Harris radios, and we would be into about 85,000 if we went that route. So this is we have no choice. Our motor pool expenses have a net increase of 71,685. I say net because we're the number of vehicles we're purchasing has gone down. The price of the vehicles slightly went up. And there was our depreciation expense went from 100,000 to 200,000. So you take all that into account, and our net increase is 71,685. Our Metro CSI fee is increasing 12,372. There's a system out there that we have done a little bit of studying on. We've talked to an agency that has it. It's called Live 911. I talked to the representative from the company. I was also the Weaver County Sheriff's Office, who has this system, and believe that it's well worth the expense, the benefit that you get from it. So what it is our officers in their vehicle have the software or the ability to hear a 911 call as it comes in live. So when the call comes in, dispatcher picks it up, it connects to our officers' cars. They hear it through their MDT systems, and they're getting information real time. So most 911 calls, to get from the dispatcher picking up the call to the officer getting dispatched, there's a 60 to 90 minute delay. And that's not because anybody's sitting on it. It's because it takes some time for the initial dispatcher to collect information, to get it entered, and then it goes to a different terminal, a different dispatcher, who then dispatches the officer. So you think about how that process works. It just takes that little bit of time to get that. So getting it 60 or 90 seconds faster just gets that officer that much closer to whatever the emergency is. And I'll just give you an example. There was a call that came to the sheriff's office. There was an 11-year-old boy who was at the rec center. He collapsed with cardiac arrest. The deputy got the 911 call when it came in and was at the rec center performing CPR before he got dispatched. They actually revived the boy, survived, he's going to be okay. So just, I don't know if you can put a value on that type of benefit. So that $5,000, about $1,000 of that is a upfront cost to get the software in our hands and loaded into our vehicles, and then $4,000 annually after that. And then a drone for our new drone program, $6,800. We just purchased one drone, which we did so with some donations, and we actually are about $3,000 into the second one with donations. So we're hoping to cover it 100% with donations. So that I'm kind of thinking might go away. So the total for those individual line items we just went through, $218,857, which is obviously more than the $201,000 increase. So somewhere else we saved some money. these are the items that our budget this year. Just to give you an idea of what's going on with the department and what we're doing year to year. This is our call trend. So it went back to 2019. And in 2019, our total calls was 13,209. There's quite the dip in 2020. And we call, guess why? It came back up into the mid 13,000s in 2021. And then in 2022, we hit 15,041. The difference, the change between 2021 and 2022 is 10% increase, which is pretty substantial. The next line there is our priority 1 and 2 calls, which is crimes in progress, domestics, medicals for life-saving, things like that, where we got to get. And just to save some time, the difference between 2021 and 2022 was an 18% increase. It contributed a lot of that to some increase in our domestics and our folks in mental health crisis. It's really going out the roof. And the reason why I'm going through this is we don't have a proposed addition to our staff, but we need to keep an eye on it because as you can see, our trends are going up. We'll see what happens next year. If our priority 1 and 2s continue to go the way they are, it's going to diminish our proactive policing and kind of take away from our goals and our mission. So we'll keep an eye on that pretty close. Go ahead to the next slide, John. So just to give you an idea what a great team we've got right now. Even though our call volume went up 10% and our priority 1 and 2s went up 18%, our proactive percentage ratio to proactive versus reactive went up 2%. So we did more proactive policing in a year where we had a 10 and an 18% increase in call volume. And that's just the work ethic they have. So we're fortunate. Okay, that's fine. I don't know how to work PowerPoint very well, so I have no idea unless John did that. Did you put this little thing? Okay, I don't know how to do that, so.
Take the credit. You got it.
You did great.
I'm pretty impressed. So what creates the need to adjust staffing levels in my profession? Population, daytime population. I'll just daytime population because some cities lose half of their population during the day. Some cities double. So you have to take that into account. What type of business district we have, call volumes, demographics, best practices, crime rates. I don't know if there's any more.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Next slide. Just really quick, I won't read word for word, but this basically just says if we're out there engaging with people, we catch criminals before they have a chance to commit crime, really. Traffic stops, FIs, just stopping and talking to pedestrians, whatever it is. Just officers creating their own engagement rather than being just called to react to something that happened, which is not the funnest part of our job. This is what we like to do. Next slide. Okay. I tried to keep it under 20 minutes per slide. I hope I did so. And open to any questions anybody has.
Council, do you have any questions for the chief?
I just have a quick comment for the council. The Citizens Budget Committee subcommittee covered everything in really good detail. So you did great covering it now, but the committee did, with your help. You went into great detail and had a lot of questions. So I would suggest if anyone gets a chance on the council, try to go back to that. I think it was the last meeting or maybe two back, last meeting, and just listen through to make sure you kind of understand everything that's going on. I thought it was very, very good.
think we will probably hear from the committee on their recommendations here soon. But yes, that's why I say, I think staff has been through this several times, so they're well rehearsed. Thanks, chief.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I do. Any other questions? You may be calling on me during our budget work session next week, but thus far, it looks like you've done a good job explaining.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, just one question is, are there gonna be, anybody know any, get out of jail free ping pong balls in that drop? It might create, you know,
That creates some buzz.
attract some,
Generate revenue.
Yeah, just to point out with the chief's increase there, as you probably have already concluded, numerous of that is beyond his control. It's either required by statute or he got a nice increase in his depreciation that he didn't ask for. But this will catch us up hopefully from our past not depreciating. So thank you. Did you discuss CSO? Did you want to? Was that all inclusive there? Did I miss
just,
that?
it was, those numbers included CSO, but just to give you really quick, and I apologize. The CSO budget last year was 50,700, I believe. This year, the proposed budget is 50,700. And just so you know, 45,000 of that is the animal shelter cost. 20,000 of it is the bond payment, 25,000 is operations cost. So their budget really independently relatively small.
I think the previous discussions, you indicated you could spend as much money as was available because of the request for compliance and citizens' perception of how that should work. But I think you've done a good job of trying to balance that out. So thank you very much. All right, thanks, Chief. Well, now we'll go to parks maintenance. George, I mean Dave.
So, yeah, I got parks maintenance. For you guys, there's 6 employees that are part of parks maintenance. This last year, we had a big turnover in park maintenance. In fact, from 1 year ago today, we've only have 1 employee out of those 6 that are still in the parks department. Luckily, we have a lot of those employees that have kind of moved to other departments inside of Public Works. So we still have their knowledge, and those things. And so it's been good. So the other thing that we can talk about is that parks maintenance moved from the parks building and the parks department over into another branch of Public Works. I think that has been a great move in itself. I think that it's been very productive. I think that they're able to help other departments that are a lot like them in like stormwater, where they're doing typically a lot of the same things. And so they're able to lean on each other and help each other out in a lot of ways. And so I think it's been a really great move. And Jamie has been a huge asset as the new supervisor in that department. I think he's really taken on that team and done a really good job with that role. So yeah, getting into our parks. So these are the things that we are big ticket items that we are asking for in parks. We talked a lot about it with the committee. The big mower, it's a John Deere. You can see the picture here. What our thinking is behind this is that we've always had 2 of the Toro smaller mowers that we load in the trailer, we haul around. Along with those guys, you know, all the stick edging, the blowing, you have all that crew working together. And so sometimes there's a lapse where the 2 mowers are out still mowing and the other employees, the stick edging and all that are kind of waiting on them, or vice versa. You know, the 2 mowers get done and they're kind of waiting on the other employees. And so what we're thinking with this is actually street legal. So it's 1 mower that can take up 2 mowers, but it's also can go and work independently, right? So they'll be able to go to the park with the 1 mower, do what they're supposed to be doing while that other crew's in the trailer, and they can keep moving along. We think we'll be a lot more productive that way, but it also will save us because, I mean, you guys have known in the past that
our seasonal employees have been hard to come by, right? And so this will alleviate some of that stuff. The Toro is just those mowers that we've bought in the past. This one is just a direct collect, so it collects the grass. In some places like the pool where we absolutely, we can't have the grass clippings be on the ground there. And other places like some of the fields, and so that will be as part of that program. The xeriscaping, it kind of goes into the same thing with the manpower thing. In we're trying to tell our community, hey, start xeriscaping, especially your park strips. This is one of those places that we wanted to try to start doing some of those projects. McGriff's a great example of this. All of those heads in the park strip along McGriff Park are all still those old brass heads that we've had since for the last 30 years, and so they're hard to maintain. And then you talk about all the weed eating, stick mowing, all those kind of things that we have to put into just a park strip, right? To make sure it still looks nice. When we could go and xeriscape it, we could probably reduce some of the stick edging and those kind of things by having, less people have to do those kind of things. And it would save us a lot of water in that as well. So those are some of the things that we're looking into. Casey and Jamie have found some grants that we can go after for those. And so those are some things that we're trying to do as well, is go after some grants to help us pay for projects like that. Lone View playground will be one that's done this year. We got ramp money. That was Lone View Park. I promise that is not what the playground looks like right now. I think 2 of the slides have boards over because we can't use them because they're not up to standard. So that's the one we're going to replace, and it does not look like that whatsoever. So, and then the water park is the one that'll be at the old public workshop, and that'll be designed as well this year. And then we just wanted to talk about some of our deliverables, even with the big turnover we've had and the getting a whole new crew. These guys have just been working their tails off, and I think they've done a really good job. They were able to complete McGriff Park. Yeah, they were able to complete McGriff Park there. That's the one with the new pirate ship playground there. We were able to do that. We should be having the Wadman playground in by the end of June. So that's looking like that's the case. We've already started little things with the pickleball courts, disconnecting sprinklers, getting ready. We've got some evaluations on how that's going to get all laid out, and so we're moving right along with the pickleball courts as well. We're hoping to get that. It sounds like that we'll have the concrete down. It has to cure for
28 days.
28 days before that we can actually put the surfacing on it, right? That's the lines and the kind of the surfacing that would go onto the court itself. So the concrete has to be there for 28 days, and then we'll go and be able to put the lines and all those things on. So we're looking mid-July for that one.
And for the tournament, we're gonna look at temporary lines so that we can do the tournament.
Yeah, the company actually said that they would come out and then they would put our lines for us with like some kind of taping so that we could still have our tournament on the concrete. They said that would be just fine. The curing process, we would be okay there. So we'd still be able to, as of right now, we'd still be able to host that pickleball tournament for Cherry Days. So we're moving right along. They were able to purchase a dump trailer this March as part of last year's budget. Push mowers. Susan can contest that we definitely needed push mowers.
Gotta work out when I.
Yes, we got 2 new push mowers, and they were well needed. And then Bicentennial Park just got finished last week, really. And so they're seeding that, but everything else as far as the waterway is all complete. So
Hey, but you left one off there. You're up working on the trailhead.
And we are working on the trailhead,
I saw that.
yes, no, so we've
It's a
got
big
the,
project.
yep, they've got the sewer lines running, right now, the water lines will be installed probably by the end of the week, and then we'll be able to start, grading that out and putting the parking lot there, so. Yeah, that'll be done here in the next month, I would think.
Okay. Any questions for Dave? All right, good job, Dave. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rasmussen, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
You've got 3 areas here we're gonna address to us in 10 minutes. That's awesome.
What am I gonna do with the other 8 minutes?
Hey, we'll carry it over to the next presentation. We're in the carryover, so
All right.
good.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the budget for the North Ogden Recreation, Aquatics and Events. I know it says Parks and Rec, but they just talked about the parks. So we'll talk about the first slide. The Recreation Department is ran by Becca, and she usually has a crew about 8 to 10 seasonals year round. She's in charge of, go to the next slide. Her deliverables are baseball, softball, kickball, t-ball, football, summer camps. She does a lot of the 5Ks, the kids running club, boys and girls basketball, and then a lot of kindergarten sports. So that's our deliverables.
Did they grow them bigger out in Plain City? The Fremont kids are twice the size of Weaver.
A little bit. It looks like it. Yeah. So 13% of Becca's budget goes to football. 8% is usually baseball and the softball. 8% is basketball. 6% goes to her training, computer software. That's the sports sites website that we use down at the Parks and Recreation to, it gathers all the information and helps us make teams, things like that. And then summer camps and her races. And then 60% of that, of her budget is for her part-time wages, her wages and salary benefits. Aquatic Center, this is one that I know well. This is where I just came from. We just did our first staff meeting for the pool tonight. That's why I was a little late. We just had 75 kids come into the Parks and Rec building and take their first drug test and get signed up. And so we're ready to go. The Aquatic Center, we have about 75 to 80 seasonal employees. I'm the aquatics manager down there, and Ken Young is the aquatics technician. So we're super busy right now getting that pool going. Our deliverables are, we have public swim down there. We offer fitness programs in the morning and in the evenings, and sometimes during the day, depending on the day of the week. Our activities include a summer stomp. That's a back to school stomp for junior high and high school age kids. When they go back to school, we give them one late night swim with some music. There's really no dancing that goes on. It's a lot of running around, splashing, having fun. So we do the flick and float, which was last year was a great success. We had over 800 people, and you usually can get a sponsor for that one. We were actually had to turn a few people away because we weren't able to guard our water. And so we're hoping that we have a great success this year. Benny's Boat Race is one that we started during COVID, or the year before COVID, and then it kind of it never took off, but now it is taking off. That is the boat race that we build cardboard boats, race them across the pool, and it's a fun event that it's growing in popularity, and we usually do that on a Friday morning, and we usually get sponsors from local businesses to give the prizes to the people that float their boats. It's a 2-man boat, cardboard, duct tape, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So we also have pool reservations. We've done that a little different this last year, and we'll continue to do it this year. We have 2 hour-and-a-half blocks that you can reserve. You can reserve it as little as 200 people and up to 800 people. You can have a group of, you can have a reserve for an hour and a half to 3 hours.
And we reserve the pool Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. So that's when that's available for anyone. A lot of family reunions, ward parties, client appreciation days, they come and reserve our pool. We're usually full, about 90% full. The ones that usually don't fill up are the ones that are usually right before a holiday or right after a holiday. Those are the ones that are hard to fill because they know people will be out of town, so they're already not there. And then swim lessons. Another big one for us down at the pool, and I feel that it's important to mention, is we have a lot of staff. 75 to 80 kids or youth from our community. 55 to 60 of them are lifeguards. So they have to go through 30 to 40 hours of certification to become a lifeguard. If they want to teach swim lessons, they need to go through another 30 hours to be certified in that. So that's a lot of time that we're training our lifeguards and staff to be quality swim instructors or lifeguards. We have some of the best lifeguards around in the state, I'd say. And that's just not bragging. I hear from our patrons all the time how well our lifeguards are always paying attention to the water and never smiling and never seem like they're having any fun. And I say that's because they have a job. And then we have cashiers. We usually employ about 15 cashiers. This last year, we were able to, because of our seasonal shortage, we were able to put cashiers up on the slide, and they were able to help us maintain an orderly fashion and keep the people from on the slide obeying the rules. And then the grounds crew is about another 10, a staff of 10, and they take care of everything at the pool, from taking out the garbage, keeping our pool clean, washing the deck, things like that. And then fitness instructors and shift managers. So it's very important, our staff. The aquatics budget, a lot of it goes to our employee salary and benefits. 7% of that goes to our pool chemicals. 14% of that goes to maintaining North Shore, helping us make sure that it's a safe, clean, and fun environment for everyone. One of the things that goes back to is that 14% is we've moved the pool, resurfacing the pool from this year's budget to next year's budget because of the spring that we've had. We weren't able to get it resurfaced. And then 5% of that is employees, uniforms, professional training, employee training, computer services. Again, we do the same sports sites that the recreation does. We use that helps build our swim lessons, that helps us with our season passes and things like that. Just gathers all that information for us. And that's where the credit card fee and transactions come from. City events, this is one that I'm new to, so bear with me, but this is one that is a lot of fun. So it's like I'm the guy that's in charge of the parties. Yeah, here we go. Some of the season of city events that we do, go to the next slide, John, is the Polar Plunge, Arbor Day, the food trucks, which started last Thursday, Children's Entrepreneur Market, movies in the park, Fright Night, Glow Run, tree lighting, Santa visits and letters, and the North Pole at Parker Park. So some of these, and John can help me out on these, but I think 13% of that was going to Cherry Days, or is going to Cherry Days. Is that correct?
That's what's in the budget now.
That's what's in the budget now. So I don't know. I kind of kept it over. That's what we were looking at. We don't know. I guess next week we're going to be talking about that. I know 23% is contracted service. Council has decided to go another direction and contract an events coordinator or events person out this year, and that's Morgan. And Morgan's doing a great job, and she's taken over about 5 or 6 of those events. And we're excited to work with her. The events that the city will be taking on, hopefully they're self-sustaining ones that are like the food trucks, some events that are down at the pool that I'm already running and taking care of. So it hopefully won't be too burdensome on us. But we're excited to have Morgan here. So this is overall the budget, budget and salary for the rec, events and aquatics. I don't have my glasses, so I can't see, but there's the numbers if you can.
Glasses are in your pocket.
Those are just readers. I really have to
Okay.
that's even worse.
I tried.
So salary and benefits for the rec, 101,573. All right, and then the total budget is 176,73. Advances 139, well, that's salary and benefits 139,577, and the total budget is 226,711. And aquatics is 353,750, and the total budget is 605,000. Any questions? I hate it when you want to talk to me now. Okay,
All right, let me just ask you a couple of questions.
sure.
I think the facility's 20+ years old now, or very close.
Yeah, close.
Um,
We're talking pool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it would be prudent for us to understand the maintenance. It's, I think it's started adding up over the years. And so I think on our budget session, perhaps you could bring back anticipated amount that's going to be needed to be put into the facility to maintain it here in the next period of time.
Absolutely.
And then just another question. Several years ago, we talked about the need to break even the aquatic center. As RDA funds are kind of drying up or going a different way, I'm just wondering how that's looking. We got pretty close last year, I know.
We've got pretty close last year. There's, we're still trying different avenues. One was trying to facilitate more reservations after hours. That was one, so doubling our reservations. Talked a little bit about a few other things, such as doing swim lessons at certain times, but it's really tough to do swim lessons earlier in the morning. In fact, I say our swim lessons are 90% full, and the ones that aren't full are the ones that are 8:45 in the morning and early like that, or later or earlier in the season. So
And I know it's become more difficult because you're experiencing the same pressure everyone else is with wages to get lifeguards that are qualified and the right people. I know there's been some discussion about adjusting our fees accordingly, but we need to also be competitive there. So just so the council knows the discussion that's been going on, and maybe you could come prepared to discuss those couple issues.
absolutely.
Thank you. Council, do you have any other questions? Good job, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, council, that gives you some things to think about as we prepare for next week's meeting, work session. Do you have any other questions of these fine folks so they can be prepared next week? Always, Councilmember Barker, go ahead.
So this is something Justin and Beck and I discussed. So you saw how much we're spending on the recreation and program there. We actually make more in our revenues than what we're spending on equipment. So even though football does can cost us a lot of money, we make more than that every year. So it's generating revenue. I know that's always a hot topic, is why are we spending so much on football for?
I believe they cover everything. John, correct me. Yeah, they cover everything other than salary and benefits for Becca pretty much.
Yep.
So that's the contribution really the community is investing in the youth. So, all right, with that, now we'll move on to item number 10. We'll first hear from Councilmember Dalpas, if he has anything he'd like to share with us regarding building and planning. Councilmember Dalpas.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Mayor. So just a couple of staffing updates, just so everyone knows, Kai Johnson is no longer with North Ogden City. And with that, we're going to be posting a new planning position. And so just be aware that if you know of anyone that might be a good fit for that type of role, that will be coming up shortly. And then as far as some of the legislative stuff, staff has been working on the auditing for the development code in response to state code changes that happened. And this is specific to subdivision process. So, we'll be starting to see some of the zoning text amendments that come through here probably towards summertime. And also just wanted to make everyone aware that staff is currently working on the general plan rewrite. It's been a little bit slow because there's a focus on some of the short-term daily planning tasks that keep everything moving efficiently. But Scott did want to make sure that I was bringing that up. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Swanson, do you have some things you'd like to share with us?
Yes. John, can you bring up that slide? And while he's bringing that up, council, we're 75% of the way through the fiscal year. Our current general fund revenues are at 71.3%. Obviously, that's because we're lagging behind with the sales tax, and when it is given to us, there's a delay there. Jamie put it very nicely. Sales tax is cooling off. Right? So if you look at that trend there, the purple line, John, can you scroll up just a little bit so we can see the legend there? The purple line at the bottom there is what we did last year. The red line is where we are this year. And you can see that up until December, we were doing pretty well at being above where we were last year and nicely above where we had budgeted. And then in December, we kind of met where we were last year, actually just a little bit below. It dipped just a little bit below last year's, but we were still above budget. And then you look at January, barely above budget, but above last year. And now in February, we are actually below what we budgeted for this month, and just a scotch, as my mother would say, a scotch ahead of last year. John, can you scroll back up just a little bit? So sales tax, our most recent collection was 335,737. I need Justin's glasses. Fiscal year 22 was 323,946. So 3.6% above last year. But you can see that what we had budgeted for the month was 368,29. So Mayor mentioned a little bit earlier as we have our budget discussion on Tuesday, our work session, one of the things we'll be talking about are sales tax projections and how that may impact budget for next year. Obviously, we don't want to over project with our sales tax. And this is the first time that I can remember in the last half dozen, maybe 7 years, that we've seen this kind of a cooling 2 months in a row. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get our March numbers, and if that kind of flat line continues. You can see that ordinarily we see an increase in March. So we'll see. We'll see, but that will definitely have an impact or could have an impact on our budget. I think that's all that I've got there. Let me just double check here. Yeah, that's all and so come prepared to the work session with ideas, because we're looking at numbers that we haven't looked at in the past. It could have a significant impact on what we can and can't do this year.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Fabio. Thank you very much.
Hey, me and George.
Right. All right. We're going to enter into item number 11 now, which is public comments. And once again, just as a reminder, if you have a comment you'd like to make, please state your name and if you're a resident of North Ogden. And I'd appreciate it very much if you would keep your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. So now would be the time, if you have any comments, to step up to the podium or raise your hand, and John will identify those who'd like to speak. Okay, do we have any comments this evening? Okay, I don't see any here. John, do you see any online?
Just one person, no hand raised.
All right. kind of
No.
quiet group tonight.
It's up.
All right, John, who may we hear from?
We have Susan Kilborn.
All right, Susan.
Big surprise. First of all, thanks Public Works. I love you guys. You are also now known to be the best looking North Ogden Public Works crew in the state. Now, I have a question of clarification, and my question is, during public comments, is it comments only, or are we allowed as tax-paying citizens to ask questions? I've never known that, and I need to know that.
Yes, you can ask questions. I'm not sure we'll answer them tonight, but if we don't this evening, I think we've set the second part of public comments aside, so we can answer any questions that occurred in our earlier public comments. So yes, you can ask questions, Susan.
Okay. My first question is, I want to make sure that I have clarification on the presentation about Cherry Days and individuals and or companies who are contributing outside of the city to supporting Cherry Days. Is that set in stone, or can individuals / companies say, yes, I'm going to donate $5,000, and is there a follow through on that? Prior to the beloved council voting on whether we want to commit to $75,000 of my fellow taxpayers' money. 3 minutes and under.
All right. Councilman Swanson, do you want to answer the question on the Cherry Days, or would you like me to?
If I understand the question, my answer would be yes. I think if you contact the Cherry Days Committee, they'd be happy to accept a check for $5,000. Paid to North Ogden City. Does that answer your question?
Yes, you're so cute. By the way, I have to tell you, your hair is awesome, but George Espinoza may be edging you out on the beard department. And that's all I got tonight. I love you guys. Have a great night, everybody in North Ogden.
Susan, Councilmember Barker said that he will reach out to you tomorrow. Yep. Tomorrow about that $5,000.
I don't think I'm going to be here tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Susan.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Is there any further comments from staff that are here tonight? Jamie? Anyone? George? Yes. Someone?
Dave does.
Oh, Dave, do you have a comment?
So with us not opening the pit till the spring cleanup, we have a 2-week window. Concerns with us bringing up the pit. We weren't able to do it last fall, so it's been over a year since we've been able to. We're shooting for next week, so there's no concerns there. We'll make sure we do, what we always do, and make sure we'll notify everybody and do that, but.
And hope that the wind's blowing to the east, right?
We'll make sure that we're in compliance with the state and all that, so.
And hopefully we get a hot burn, so we don't get a lot of smoke.
Yes. We've got a lot there, so we should get a pretty hot burn. So.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
Speaking of public works, we did have a nice event. I want to thank who contributed to that. Susan, thank you for your contribution to the event. Also Lise and Spencer Stevens who helped fund that activity and appreciation. And Councilmember Extra made some lovely desserts. So thanks all that did that. I think that was good to recognize the effort of our public works. Of course, they're not the only ones in the city that are really committed, so we appreciate everyone. All right, John, do you have any comments this evening?
Yes, just so council, just a reminder, we're not out of flood season yet. It's been cold. It's been very good. We're still being diligent and watching things. I will try and resend those links again, but if you know of anyone who has resources, if you'll put it on the form so Casey and Dave and I have easy access to names, phone numbers, and what people have. And then also, if you're spending time doing flood response, visiting, things like that, if you can help us track those hours, because if we end up with an emergency declaration and FEMA involvement, we do get to use those hours to match our 25% contribution towards FEMA monies, and hopefully get a lot of stuff taken care of with federal dollars as opposed to local dollars. So.
And we do have a emergency declaration prepared, ready to go. I think John told me our flooding event over there in 1700, we got about a $225,000 bill or more.
Yeah, we're going to get it evaluated, but it's much more than it seems because of what the repair work will take when you get under the asphalt and you get that road base saturated.
So FEMA money would be nice. Okay, anything else? Hey, got anything for us? Anybody?
Oh, let's be done.
Yeah.
Let's give you chairs.
Council, any other comments based upon Nate's desire to get done here? Okay, we have 2 council members. Nate, you can speak with them after. Sure. Councilmember Exton.
Okay, since I was the only member of council and leadership that got to go down to the ULCT conference, I just wanted to put in a little report about one of the themes of the conference, which was having dignity in our public discourse. And there's an organization called NIGHT. It was actually started here in Utah. It was a pilot program that was started by students at the University of Utah and spearheaded by some other leaders, including Timothy Shriver, who was Maria Shriver's brother and Eunice Kennedy Shriver's son. I didn't realize this, but his mother had started Special Olympics and his father started the Peace Corps, which was like, that was interesting. I didn't know that before. But it's a very wonderful program. They've put together what's called the Dignity Index. So I would really recommend that each of us go onto dignityindex.us. It's a website and it talks about a scale of 1 to 8 about how much dignity we have in our discourse and how much we give, and it's not even necessarily respect, but acknowledging humanity. It's really a wonderful mirror. Essentially, you can look at yourself, and then you can also look at the candidates you support, that maybe you support their positions, that you don't necessarily support how they're attacking other candidates and things like that. And one of the things that they talked about was that you can make a difference, especially as you are maybe deciding where you're going to put your funding. Like if you want to fund a candidate, say, I agree with you on policy, but you got to cut this out, or something like that. But anyway, again, dignityindex.us. I really recommend everybody go look at that.
Thank you, Councilmember Exton. Councilmember Summer.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Just 3 things really quick. So one of my assignments is working with the youth city council and the seniors who are on the youth city council proposed the idea of having a One North Ogden flag that we can fly out here. I wanted to know what your thoughts were as a council about doing something like that, design that would allow us to fly a flag that says One North Ogden out there. Well, no decision necessarily today, but something to be thinking about.
Would the youth city council kind of help design it? Is that kind of what they're looking at doing?
Yeah, we kind of asked them to do it, but I think they've got kind of busy right now, but it would sure be awesome to have something like that up and functioning before Cherry Days.
Sponsor like a design contest or something. That's fun.
I like that. I really was impressed with the mayor with that idea. And I see that as a real valuable thing. So maybe we can bring that up again next week. And then Dave, I'm not sure who to approach this, but because you work with the parks now, I had an individual reach out to me. And I probably should have had him just call Councilman Barker, but he's like over disc golf. And apparently that's becoming kind of a popular activity. And I was really impressed. He actually even knew about the 6 acres up here south of the equestrian park. And they actually come in, they'll actually fund the nets or the frisbees, I guess. They actually come in with their little organization. They can design and create it. So I'm passing that on to you, Dave, and maybe take into consideration that with the staff. That's something you might want to do. And last but not least, just after we had decided about the pickleball courts, I posted that on my Facebook page. I texted this to all the city council, but we have that $5,000 contribution that was offered by a family here in North Ogden. And I told them we would get back with them. So how soon do we need that $5,000 contribution?
We're ready to take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. Yesterday. All right, thanks, Councilmember Severn. Any other comments before we adjourn? Seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Councilmember